All right, welcome in. It's a brand new edition of the RSL Show on the KSL Sports Network. I'm Alex Napoles. Happy to be back with you guys, bringing you the latest and the greatest on the RSL. We have Josh Clark joining us today. Josh, how you doing, man?
Peachy, season's upon us. Let's go.
It's right around the corner. Also joining us today, Carson Lantz. Carson, how you doing, man?
I am doing great, Alex.
Carson, is someone holding a gun to your head to be part of this podcast right now? Because that's kind of what it sounded like.
All right, do I need to have more?
No, it's fine. I'm just,
I got you. I just try not to say too much.
No, I know. This is me being sarcastic and hazing the new guy.
No, we got a sniper pointed right at Carson, forcing him to join us today.
I got all the other podcasters looking at me right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. What's up, guys? What's new?
Just trying to get through this miserably cold, dreary January and February. Holding on until we can get to some fun RSL news, man. Honestly, I'm just jonesing for some soccer.
I've just been really busy with work lately, and I started a new position at work, and it's been going awesome. I love it. And that's really all I've been up to, just making lots of money and working hard.
Hey, there you go.
Carson, I'm just making lots of money over here.
Sheesh. Well,
sheesh.
I'm trying.
There you go, man. All right, let's jump into it. We talked about it a little bit last time we were on, but now it's official in Rafael Cabral being officially signed to Real Salt Lake. It sounds like he is going to be probably your number one heading into the next season, because at the media day interviews, we found out that Zach McMath actually had to have surgery and he's going to be out long term.
Cool. So that means he's not going anywhere, but he's not playing.
He is not playing. He's going to be out for an extended period of time.
You know, it all makes sense with the moves, right? That's 2 goalkeepers that you've brought in, 4 in the draft. I mean, the writing's obvious on the wall. It's wild that we're keeping him around, but if we're doing it, to keep him paid through his, surgery year, then that's great. Have his veteran presence around the locker room, around the Monarchs, around the academy. I think it's all around a good move. And honestly, I hope Zach ends up staying in Utah and working with the club long term.
Yeah, I think it's really unfortunate Zach picked up an injury, I feel like the vibe was really that he was going to be gone after last season, but I think it's really good on the club to keep him around, let him recover, keep him for another season. Maybe when he comes back, he competes with Cabral and all the other goalkeepers we brought in. But, I'm really excited for Cabral. He's 34 years old, Brazil. I think he's from Brazil. Yeah, he's from Brazil, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, man, hopefully he turns out good. I don't know anything about the guy, but just hopefully he's good.
I know he's got a track record, with being kind of a journeyman, but the journeyman clubs he's been to, it's a lot different than other journeyman RSL have brought in, right? Like they're recognizable teams, they're big teams, which isn't always a good thing, but at least he's not bouncing around, the Belgian 5th division and coming over here to be our starter. So that's comforting. And then to get just, an old veteran presence in goal that has a lot of experience for free, right? Free agent. So it's a great signing in my opinion. I know there's the YouTube video. I know I talked about it, of gaffes, but like we talked about last time, you can make that with any goalkeeper's careers over the years, especially with as long as he's been playing. So I'm not too worried about it. It's not like we're not used to it. Hoping he's better with his feet. That's what I'm really excited to see. I think having a strong goalkeeper that can play the ball with his feet is just going to work phenomenally in Pablo's system, and it's something we've been missing. So yeah, very excited for Cabral.
Just having this guy around, being able to play with their feet, because I feel like in the past we just, Beavers wasn't the best with his feet, McMath wasn't the best with his feet, and it's just, you can tell whenever those like high tense situations have, and like I think it's cost us some games when our goalkeeper just freaks out whenever they have the ball under pressure and they just boot it out, and then next thing you know, it's a turnover and they have a goal.
Many times that's happened to us.
Yeah.
So if having a goalkeeper that is comfortable at his feet can save us 10 goals this season, that's great. Even if it's not a direct result, like missing the ball when it's passed back to you or passing it to the other team, it goes all the way to distribution, right? Just clearing the ball errantly, leads to an immediate turnover and an immediate counterattack. So, if he can play that ball out of the back, it's going to be incredible.
I also liked what you said about the YouTube videos as well. Is like we only can learn so much from YouTube videos about players, and I think some players get hyped up a little too much. Like, oh, like look at those saves they made in like those 3 seconds of a clip. I'm like, YouTube videos of players are usually to make them look good, not like necessarily to show us how good they actually are.
Right. It's called highlights for a reason, right? You don't watch a lot of highlights of a central defensive midfielder maintaining possession or, doing all the simple things. So it's hard to prove.
Bottom line, and I bring this up again because, like I said, we talked about it a little bit in the last show, but I bring it up again because heading now into this new 2025 season, Real Salt Lake is going to have a new goalkeeper. That goalkeeping room has completely changed from what it was last season. Last year, you had McMath, you had Beavers, and you had Thomas Gomez. All 3 of those guys are either gone or you can't count on them because of a long-term injury. So I fully expect either Cabral or Mason to step up and hopefully be that number 1 that Real Salt Lake's been looking for.
Is it weird that usually moves in a department area, especially to the extent we've seen these in the goalkeeper room, I feel oddly relieved and excited. Is that odd?
I wouldn't say so, no.
It's like a whole new fresh beginning, and we just don't know what's there, right? We don't know how good the backup is. We don't know how good number 3 is. We could watch, a guy from the draft or a guy from the academy come up and flourish. We could have Cabral be in goal and, put up 2 incredible years and become a fan favorite. Mason could step in and be a long-term, solution. It could be like a Amelia to SKC. You just don't know what's going to happen, and I find that incredibly exciting.
I'm really excited for that UConn goalkeeper redrafted. I think Max, is that his name? But him and I think the other one was Trace Alfin. I don't know if it was confirmed, but I was told he was the trialist. No, never mind. He wasn't the trialist goalkeeper. That was someone else. But I don't know. I think he might be the Monarchs. But I'm really excited about that UConn goalkeeper, Max. He's a really big dude. He looks like he's enjoying Utah so far, and he's young. He was a redshirt freshman last season, and he can only get better, I feel like, with Mirza. And, Mirza has a track record of developing goalkeepers, so.
Yeah, Mirza's an incredible goalkeeper coach. You also have Ramondo on that coaching staff, with Mirza. So it's not like we don't have coaching staff, to build these goalkeepers. We have probably the best we can have.
Yes, sir.
So it's just a world of opportunity out there for RSL goalkeepers right now.
And I think you can kind of boil it down to Cabral and Mason being bridge goalkeepers for
100%.
a Max to step up in a year or two, for Trace Alfin to step up in a year or two, right? There's plenty of guys in the academy who are still young and developing and are still maturing and still working. I fully see both of these guys that have come in, Cabral and Mason, to be guys that are just bridge goalkeepers. They're gonna hold down the net for a few years and potentially give time for these younger guys to really mature and cook a little bit in the lab.
Yeah, but I also think Mason could take a huge step, and end up finding that number 1 spot for years, because he's still fairly young in goalkeeper terms, right? 20, 26, 27, maybe 28. So he's not even approaching where goalkeepers enter their primes, right? So this could be a resurgence of a career in the making. He's kind of a journeyman. So not only do we have the youth that can really, seize this opportunity, but we have a guy in Mason who could have the best opportunity of his career to become a number 1 goalkeeper in MLS.
How many different goalkeepers do you think we could see end up starting this year?
Between the competitions,
Yeah,
at least 3.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be minutes, and there's definitely going to be opportunities to rotate whoever you want for specific games.
And honestly, if McMath is healthy before the end of the season, I wouldn't be shocked to see him just get some, if it's his last year, like farewell minutes, or, let him get clapped off type minutes. So, we could see 4 goalkeepers this year.
that's crazy to think about.
Yeah. especially when you think about all the years we were so stable in that area, right?
Yeah.
So it's different. It's very different.
It's different, but I think it's a good thing because at the end of the day, you are looking for that next Nick Rimando, whether that be, again, one of the guys you drafted this year or one of the guys that you have playing in the Monarchs and playing for the academy currently at the moment. But I do think in the next few years, one of those will emerge. I mean, obviously, we already saw Gavin Beavers emerge a little bit, but no longer able to count on him because he's heading overseas. But I do expect one of these guys to step up and eventually take over being that long-term number one like a Ramondo did back in the day.
Yeah, that's always the hope, right? Or, two of them turn out, you can sell one for a profit, keep the one, that you really like. Hopefully they end up in the national team conversation and just have an incredible career. So again, unlimited opportunities with those guys. And I'm just really excited to see how it develops.
Moving on, let's talk a little bit about the U.S. men's national team because Real Salt Lake had 2 call-ups this past camp. We've talked about it here on the show with Diego Luna and Emeka Eneli both being called up for those friendlies against Venezuela and Costa Rica. I want to focus specifically on the Costa Rica game because not only did Diego Luna and Emeka Eneli both start in that one, but the 2 Real Salt Lake men also got assists in that one against Costa Rica.
How incredible is that?
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Good performances from the RSL guys.
It's mind-blowing. I absolutely love to see it. Obviously, we had a few years where we had a lot of, players getting time with the national team, but never anyone coming up, really, right? This is a huge opportunity for these guys. I think it's really good for RSL. I mean, RSL just sent a guy that we purchased from the USL and a guy we drafted to the national team camp. If you're a young player, add that to your resume, right? RSL can do this for you if you're bought in. How cool is that?
That's unheard of, I feel like.
Right. It's awesome.
I can't think of too many MLS players who were drafted, or actually even scratch that. I can't think of anyone in the USL either who's kind of come up and has cemented themselves in a good spot to potentially be called to more U.S. men's national team camps.
I mean, Tony Beltran got called into camp and he was a draft pick, but you never got the feeling that Tony Beltran could be a long-term option at right back for the U.S. team, right?
That's the key.
That's the difference.
Consistency. Oh, yeah, 100%. That is the key, is like, because when you look at the comments made by Mauricio Pochettino in the post-game comments that he had with the TNT desk, and you can tell that he is highly impressed with a guy like Diego.
How could you not be? Right? The cojones on Diego, literally, to do what he did. And not only that, but it's not like, Berhalter went out there and said, that Diego Luna had big balls. This is Poch, dude. He's not a slouch of a manager. He's been incredible places, done incredible things. So to impress a manager of that caliber, for him to say something like that on national TV, like, it's not egregious, I know, but it's abnormal for a coach to say, right? How cool is that to have that guy saying that about your guy? It just brings us so much joy.
And Poch has coached world-class players. Like, he coached Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, so many of these players. And to say, I know, like, a lot of people might be thinking we're overreacting, but, like, to point out a guy like Diego Luna, San Jose Earthquakes Academy player, USL player, and Real Salt Lake player now, to even like point him out of all the players he called up, that's huge.
Yeah, and I don't want people to undersell what a big deal it is, because it really is a big deal. Like we were just mentioning, Pochettino isn't your MLS manager that just so happened to get the U.S. men's national team job, right? This is a guy who was coaching Lionel Messi 3 years ago. This is a guy who was at PSG 3 years ago. This is a guy who helped Harry Kane develop at Tottenham, like Carson was mentioning, right? This is a guy who's been around world-class talent his entire career. And now for him to come into the U.S. men's national team, obviously a huge hire and a great hire, but now for him to bring on some Real Salt Lake guys with him and to be impressed by those Real Salt Lake guys, I think that's monumental, and fans need to be excited for that.
I am. I can't lie to you. I'm so pumped on it. It's not something you envision for an RSL man to make that kind of impact on a national stage, right? He's everyone's favorite RSL player, one of their favorite RSL players. But now he's taken those eyeballs across the country, right? So now he has a lot of supporters in the national team, supporter section of life. But not only did everyone in America see that went worldwide, right? People know who Diego Luna is. Scouts just discovered who Diego Luna is. It's a huge moment for the kid.
Especially for Emeka. You think Emeka expected to be part of the national team like when he went to Cornell?
And then to get on not only to get on the national team or go to camp, but to get on the score sheet.
Yeah, that's freaking
wild.
What I
mean? And he's not a guy that should be getting an assist either. Like it's all because of his hustle and work ethic that he was in the position to dish that out. It's incredible for him.
And just think that like more than 5 years ago, Pochettino was coaching in a Champions League final as well.
Right.
And now he's coaching a guy like Emeka Eneli, who went through college, through academy, and now he's with the national team. It's just like so wild to think about. Like if I was in Emeka's shoes, I would just feel so like out of place and be like, whoa, I can't believe I made it this far, Yeah.
And then to compete, right? Exactly. I mean, just think of the next World Cup roster. It could be Tyler Adams and Emeka Eneli.
That's it, Tyler Adams.
But yeah, exactly. So he has all the opportunity in the world because Tyler Adams is injury prone. Weston McKennie is injury prone. We could be seeing Yunus Musa and Emeka Eneli side by side in the World Cup.
I would
incredible.
I would like that midfield duo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Me too.
What about Diego Luna's nose, man?
Ow, man. Ouch.
Yeah, I don't think I could play through a broken nose. So that just says how much he played through. So that had to hurt.
He has heart, man. He has heart.
He does, and obviously that's one of the reasons why Pochettino was so impressed with Diego Luna this past camp. But man, that what a brutal hit to take to just break your nose the way that he did, and then for him to just be like, hey, you know what? We're gonna play through it and continue carrying on. I think that's phenomenal.
And then to get on the score sheet as well with an assist, like
there you go.
It's one of those fairy tale sports moments that every professional player, every high school player, every youth player dreams of. Just have that one keystone moment for your career, and you can have multiple, right? But this is a gateway to bigger things for Diego Luna. Just that one decision, that one moment of toughness, it's gonna pay huge dividends for him.
Which I feel like he's kind of had a hard time recently with the US, and new head coach comes in and he's like, this is my opportunity to stop being disrespected by the federation and get the respect from Poch. And I think he did just that.
How much longer does Real Salt Lake have with Diego Luna?
Summer, I bet you he's gone.
I think it's surprising he's still even around.
Same. I think with the losses, right, with Gomez and Chicho leaving, RSL had to been like, hey guys, we're down, but you got to give us till summer because we can't lose everybody right now.
Yes, and I 100% could see that happening. If, I would not be surprised if there was somebody looking at Diego Luna this winter and Real Salt Lake decided, hey, because of the other moves that we've made, we actually can't let him go right now, which honestly might work out for Real Salt Lake because depending on obviously how 2025 starts for Diego Luna and what he does in the season, that can just continue to add on to what the value that Diego Luna has already brought upon himself.
But again, the same fear we talked about with Gomez, right? How long do you ride that train before you miss that opportunity? What if Diego Luna comes out completely flat, and we don't get the opportunity to sell him? Right? Yeah. That's the gamble, but I don't see that coming from him, and I don't think the club, feels like that's an option for him either. High risk, high reward, man. Absolutely. It's a gamble.
So we have two guys excelling at the U.S. men's national team level. Real Salt Lake, however, looking back things now in Salt Lake City, well, I guess in this case in Santa Barbara, California, the team decides to head over to Santa Barbara for their first preseason game. They have a quick, friendly preseason match against New York City FC. Not off to the best of starts, as literally within 15 minutes, you're down to nothing.
But before we get into that,
Yes.
shameless plug time.
Oh, yes. Let's do it.
We do have a Diego Luna Big Balls shirt on salterfc.com. It's an RSL Show design, but it is available. It does have Diego Luna's blessing. I did ask him before we made it, and he's down. So if you want to have a piece of merch with Diego Luna's face on it and Poch's comment, salterfc.com. I'm hoping we see him wear it before a match this year. I think that would be just a highlight of the show. So fingers crossed for that.
My shirt at?
Text me your size.
Oh, heck yeah. There you go. That's what I like to hear.
Anyway, shameless plug over. Back to preseason.
salterfc.com, right?
Yes, sir.
salterfc.com. If you want your Diego Luna Cojones Grandes shirt, go head over to salterfc.com right now. Not while you're driving. Maybe pull over and do that. But go over to salterfc.com and go get a Diego Luna shirt from the RSL Show from us to you.
And to be completely clear, I'm making no money on these. I'm selling them for whatever I'm charged for them to be made. So they're $20. That's a pretty cheap t-shirt in this day and age. They're nice shirts too. It's not a Gildan heavyweight cotton tee. So I'm just releasing this shirt out of the love of the game and love of the moment.
Do it and you're cool.
For all you old listeners, Josh does this for the love of the club. There was the Dami is my captain shirt all those years ago.
The Everton, the enforcer.
The enforcer. Yeah, it's just all for the love of the game. It's never for Josh. It's never for us. It's for you guys. So go over salterfc.com again. That's salterfc. Go get a shirt.
That's awesome of you to just make shirts like that and just out of the love for the club. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, dude. I'm not a money grubber over here. As much as I would like to be, I'm not going to.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah.
So Rouselik heads over to Santa Barbara. First preseason game. Interesting lineup because it has a nice mix of young guys who have just recently joined the team, young guys who we need to continue to see develop with this team. A couple of guys coming back from injury, Ruiz, and a couple of trialists, which I thought was interesting. So you have the starting 11 of trialist 1, Bodie Hidalgo, Justin Glad with the captain's armband, Zach Farnsworth, which I thought was interesting. I had to go back and double check.
Wild.
His option was not picked up. I don't think Farnsworth right now, I'll have to double check this, but I don't think Farnsworth right now is technically a part of the roster. I think he's out there.
He should have been listed as trialist 7 then.
So Zach Farnsworth gets the starts. Junkwa getting the first look at him at the left back position. Caliscan and Ruiz in the middle of the park. Mark Zook, Barea, which I thought was awesome. Tyler Wolf, who got the start, it looks like at the 10 underneath Trailist 2, who we have no idea who they are.
Can I tell you what drives me absolutely nuts?
That the fact that they still have to label the guys on trial.
Why can't we know their name?
That's a great question.
I don't care what their reason is. I think it's stupid because I want to know their name.
It makes no sense, and I think that's just one of those MLS rules that are a little bit outdated. Especially in the case where, like I said, I don't think Farnsworth is technically under contract right now. But yet, Zach Farnsworth, you see Zach Farnsworth in that starting 11. He's one that you can give out. So, I mean, what's the difference between letting us know Zach Farnsworth is there and letting us know who the players on trial is?
Maybe we just missed that we re-signed him. I don't think we did, but yeah.
I think it's because he's from the United States and he's not from out of the country, so he's playing here, because he's from here, with all the work visa stuff and all that. You don't want to get in trouble.
Could be.
That's still dumb. You're still playing. You're still here.
Yeah.
Let the fans know, man. No, it's fine, but it's hard to know who am I rooting for? Who's this guy? Yeah,
I get you.
So 15 minutes into the game, Rouselik goes down 2-0, thanks to goals from New York City FC. 37th minute, Dominic Marczuk gets on the score sheet, pulls one back. Second half starts. You have a completely different look heading into that second half with Max in goal, Dylan, Kobe Henry getting his first look, Vera Catranis into the game, Ojeda taking the captain's armband from Justin Glad, Palacio alongside him, Linker.
That's the Marshall draft pick guy.
Linker dos Santos?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Diogo Hersakiani and Ajago. That's your second half team. And then Brian Ojeda is able to get an assist from across from Catranis to tie it up in the 59th minute, and that one ends 2-2. Not able to watch this game. It wasn't streaming or anything. But any takeaways, I guess, from what the information that we do know from this game?
I mean, it's really hard to take anything away when you don't see, how the goals happened, how they developed.
There you go.
What our goals look like. I'm sure they were pretty. I wish I knew. It's cool to see Ojeda get on the score sheet. It's cool to see Ojeda get the captain's armband. But I mean, really, not a lot to take away quite yet.
One thing I can take away from that, though, is Aiden Herzakani. I feel like Pablo he likes him because, I mean, he was spotted a couple times playing in training with the first team last season, and now he's getting time. I think he was the only homegrown player that just recently signed that actually got to play in that match.
That's right.
And I think the front office and Pablo see something in him that a lot of us haven't seen yet, and I'm really excited to see how he develops.
Well, I remember preseason last year, Pablo had high praise already for Aiden.
Ooh.
I remember going to the preseason media days last season and hearing him talk about Aiden and like I said, have high praise for him already. And this is a kid who, was just barely starting to get minutes for the Monarchs. So I'm sure for him, it probably means a lot to know that you have that vote of confidence from Pablo Mastroretti already.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because he can play striker, winger, and outside back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe he's the next Emeka Eneli, right? The next guy to step in and really take his opportunity. It would be incredible. So I just can't wait to see these guys play. Hopefully we can get something streamed or some kind of highlight package here with the next couple.
They did put a video on social media of Ojeda's goal. And I swear, Ojeda scores this goal every preseason. We see it every time where somebody crosses it into the box, someone dummies it, lets it off to Ojeda, who's hovering around the top of the A team, and he just strikes it into that top corner. We see it every preseason, and I want to see it more from Ojeda in an actual game.
Be incredible.
That'd be
just got to find himself in that advanced position,
So moving on, there was a couple of images that have leaked on the social medias that I've seen already of what could potentially be Real Salt Lake's kit for next season. We're moving on from the yellow beehive, which really grew on me and is probably now one of my all-time favorites. But because, it's time to move on, we have to leave it in the past, retire the beehive kit, and we move on to a new away kit. And the images have been surfacing online. Some leaks have been surfacing online of a potential design for the kit. And guys, I got to say, I'm not a fan.
Do you want me to just break your hearts real quick? That ain't it.
It ain't it?
It ain't it. It's close. It's close. But it ain't it.
So for those who haven't seen it, it was a yellow and blue checkered pattern jersey that's been circling around.
They're very Croatia. Very Croatia.
Very Croatia, yes.
Yep.
Except instead of red and blue and white, red and white, it's yellow and blue. But Josh says it's not it though.
Yeah, I mean it'll be close to that, but the color scheme looks better.
Hopefully, because I was telling you guys, I am not a fan of checkered patterns.
I love a checkered kit, so I'm a fan. It's a kit that will grow on people, but I'm very excited for it. right? I think like with any kit, there's going to be severe reactions both ways. I think this one will just be kind of remembered as the checkered kit. It's just fine. It's fun change. But I'll tell you that from all the other leaks I've seen, I have seen RSLs, so that's how I can say this. But from the other teams leaks I've seen, they're bad. So we might be getting one of the better ones out of this new crop. Not good, man.
Carson, did you like the Peak Mountain kit when it came out last year?
The Peak,
just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I liked it.
The
I
home
liked
one
it
right now.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was creative. I think it's nice. I'm not like a huge jersey guy where I can be critique and be like, oh, like blah blah blah. But I think as long as our jerseys look good on our players on the field and we're winning, that's all that matters.
And you know what? Winning in an ugly kit is kind of incredible. So
it's immortalized.
I'm just very glad we've moved away from a plain red shirt and a plain white shirt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. So. Actually, yeah, you bring up a good point though, Josh. The all the leaks. So the kits won't officially be announced by Major League Soccer and by the clubs until February 13th. So, but there have been a lot of leaks online, and most of them have not looked well.
They're awful.
Yeah. First of all, I've never been a fan of MLS just recycling templates and just changing color schemes, right? Where they have like the designated template for the season, and then they'll show it to the teams, and they'll just be like, "Hey, you have to
pick one." Yeah.
Like, do you remember 2020? First of all, terrible year because of COVID and everything. But when everybody had the kit with the 3 stripes just on the shoulder, oh man, what are we doing?
Don't disrespect the Smurf print kit, brother. I absolutely hated it when they launched it.
I'm not saying it was a bad kit. I'm just saying that I never.
Oh, no, it was terrible. It was a terrible kit.
Adopted it.
Well, yeah, it's when they make them do the same thing, right?
Right.
You're kind of seeing it in the EPL right now with every Adidas team having those shorts with the god awful stripe like up the back of the thigh.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it happens to every league. But every league also has a little more autonomy in their kit selection. But I do have to say Adidas has gotten a lot better since the plain blank templates they were putting out for years.
I still wish teams could have their own sponsor jerseys, though. I wish not everyone was Adidas.
Yeah, I mean, we were hoping that wouldn't get renewed, and unfortunately it did. So another few years of Adidas template kits, in our path, so to speak. But it will be cool. I mean, it would be so interesting to see what MLS clubs could pull what, kit manufacturers, right? LAFC, Miami, you got your Nikes, Adidas's.
Yeah.
But who's got the Joma? Who's got the New Balance? Who's got the...
I feel like RSL is totally like a New Balance. I don't know why. It just gives me New Balance vibes.
I feel like we would be like Hummel.
Okay, yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought, though. Colorado would be just white T-shirts from Walmart.
No, they'd be that Charlie brand from Mexico that everybody hates.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy their stuff.
Charlie?
Yeah,
Colorado.
Really?
Yeah, unless it was on Colorado or SKC, then no. But I really liked what they did with San Diego Loyal, RIP, from the USL. I really enjoyed what they did with those kids.
There's a lot, I'm obviously, I follow a little bit of Liga MX and I'm always keeping up with them. And there's been a lot of fans who haven't been happy with Charlie. So I find that interesting.
Is it design things or is it like quality?
Design and quality.
See, quality, I don't understand. I mean, I have actually never bought one of the Charlie ones, so I'm kind of a hypocrite, but I'm not familiar with their quality, so I can't speak to that.
I think they blew up really quick, and now they're trying to cut some corners to save money. But
yeah, they grew too fast.
Yeah.
I like Kappa. That's all I got to say. I like Kappa.
I would love Kappa.
Yeah.
minus the fact that they're like Puma, where they're like painted on you. They're so tight.
Yeah.
It's not a good supporter kit at all.
No.
I've never been a fan of Puma kits, and I as soon as City got that deal with Puma, I haven't been a fan of their kits.
Puma's terrible.
Yeah.
I do love the fact, however, and I know some people complain about this, but I do love the fact that Major League Soccer does where you only change one kit a year. So you get essentially your kits for 2 years. I do enjoy that because, one, I don't have to worry about, investing money into buying 2 kits every season.
Expensive. It's very expensive.
It's gotten really pricey. But I do, in the case of like the Beehive kit and the Peak Mountain kit, where they're nice kits, they're nice to stick around for a little bit.
Yeah, you don't have one season of that kit you absolutely love, and then
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard, like for United, specifically, like every year you got 3 new kits, and it's just like, well, I really liked the one last year. It would be nice if they still had that, and these new 3 are absolute trash, so this sucks, and that's just a lot of ideas to come up with. 3 kits a year. I digress.
Except, if you're Inter Miami. If you're Inter Miami, you get 2 kits, 2 new kits every year now.
Of course, and a classic and a, yeah.
Hey, when you have Messi,
that
you
stupid
get some
dolphin one. Oh my gosh, what was that?
Yeah, that one sucked.
Terrible. All right, moving on.
Garbage.
Messi gets his own rules. It's okay.
All right.
Where'd you hear that from?
Oh, I wasn't supposed to say it out loud.
I'm just joking.
Don Garber called me yesterday and told me.
Oh, I just got a text from Garber.
Oh man, I just got one from our KSL boss. I guess I'm fired because Don Garber's mad.
All right. Since there wasn't too much news to actually dive into and dissect, we decided to go on social media and pull up just a little bit of, hear from you guys, because we do this for you. We love interacting with you guys. We love talking to you guys, and we love hearing from you guys. And so we put up a little thing on Instagram and on social media to send us your hot takes. And so now we're going to take the time to dissect and talk about some of your hot takes as we get ready for the 2025 season. We'll start on Instagram. We've got Dylan.J, who says Chicho was the problem with Real's second half of the season last year. We should have given game time to the other 2 strikers.
Other 2 as in whom?
I'm assuming
Anderson, Julio, and
I can't think of the other. Who else was there last year?
Who else was there that could have actually done something? That's my
Elijah Paul. Anderson, Julio, Elijah Paul.
Exactly. That's kind of the point I was just trying to make.
Actually,
while I agree, Chicho was a problem. That's such a Chicho is one of those players that is so alpha when he's on that replacing his production with anybody is almost impossible, as we saw during his suspension and as we saw in the second half of the season. Even when Anderson Julio, stepped in his place, we were still getting bad results, right? It's such a core key position on the field to have, producing for you, that when you have a guy like Chicho not performing, it's very rare to have any kind of depth to make up for that production. So I agree, but I also disagree because I don't really think we had anyone behind him that was going to do any better. And everyone's hope was Chicho just needs 1 goal and he'll get it back. 1 goal and he'll get it back. And it's just unfortunate that never happened.
He never got it.
Yeah, you could put the blame on Chito at the same time, but also, soccer is a team sport. And maybe the team relied on him a little bit too much.
100%.
And I think that was honestly probably the problem, was that Chicho was relied on too much and not enough players stepped up to replace that goal contributions.
Adam says, if we don't sign a DP this window, Emeka Eneli should be our captain. Look, Adam, while I don't disagree with you, I don't see what the correlation of DP and captain have to do with each other.
Yeah, I think I would put some money on a betting app if this bet was available that Emeka Eneli would end up a captain at RSL this season. I totally see it happening at some point. I definitely don't think being a DP automatically constitutes captaincy.
Yes.
in any way. I honestly didn't like that Chicho was the captain at times. I'm also not a big fan of your striker being the captain. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I want someone more in the defensive half or the midfield, that has a bigger vocal range to really talk to the entire team and be everywhere. So yeah, I just don't think strikers should be captains personally, but yeah, Emeka will be captain at some point this year.
I have same thing as Alex said. What does DP and captain have any correlation in that conversation? I definitely could see Emeka being captain sooner or later, but I think as long as Justin Glad is around, I don't see Emeka becoming captain anytime soon. Unless Justin just doesn't want the armband and he's like, I think maybe this guy's a better leader. Let's give
it really all depends on what the locker room situation looks like, and we're not privy. So
I like that more too than just the head coach deciding who's the captain. Having the team decides the captain, I think, is just as important.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Emeka Eneli was chosen.
100%. And kind of piggybacking off what Josh was just talking about. Maybe it's the old school football in us, but I just don't. Striker is a captain. I'm not a fan. And I'm also not a fan of Major League Soccer automatically making DPs captains.
Wait, that's a thing.
It has no correlation. Your captain could be an absolute diva and not give any kind of care about his teammates, right? It needs to be the guy that was born with that captain blood.
Yeah.
It's a big position to fill. It's not just something, you become. And I know I just complained a lot about strikers being captain, but Damir Kreilach was our captain for a long time. In my eyes, he's not a striker though, because he's a midfielder. So I'm validating it to myself.
Yeah, whatever.
No, you're up. You're 100% right. I'm right there with you, Josh. You are 100% right. Real quick too, before we move on, I'm a huge fan of Chicharito. Love Chicharito. Love what he's done for the Mexican national team. Love what he did. But for him to come to Major League Soccer as a DP and immediately take that captain's armband, didn't love that. And we'll leave that there.
Well, especially think about the old captain or players that have been on the team for many years that fully deserve it, and then just have some guy come in because he has name recognition, he's your captain. It's crap to me.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I think Major League Soccer can move on from.
I don't have a problem with strikers being a captain, but I have a problem with divas being a captain and make everything about themselves and is not actually a leader. So,
yeah.
That kind of is what 95% of strikers are, right?
Am I being called out?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I was never a captain growing up. Okay, makes sense.
Anywho, carry on.
All right. Moving on. Francis, shout out, Fran. Hope you're doing well, man. Says, we're actually going to do better this year than last year. Tired of the doom and gloom of every offseason.
Valid.
Is it off season without doom and gloom though? It's kind of the fun part. But as always with RSL, no matter who we bring in, be cautiously optimistic. It's the way of RSL fandom. You never want to get too high because the lowest of lows off those highest of highs are the worst, right? So make sure you have level expectations. I also think we're going to do well. We could end up finishing better, but I don't know that we'd have a first half of the season like we had. We could just maybe be more consistent.
Yeah.
It's all to be determined though. There's no way of us knowing, not being able to watch preseason at the moment doesn't help, but also preseason's preseason. Even if we go out and kill it during preseason, it's really hard to tell until, 10 games into a season. That's really when you can start deciding how the year's going to go. So there's a long way before we know how well we're going to be doing next year.
I really enjoy the positivity. I think the fan base could use a little bit more of that in the off season, especially with all these moves. Yes, we need positivity, Josh. We need to spread that. No more negativity, which I can see where the negativity is coming from. We lost Chicho and We lost Andres Gomez in the summer last year, so we're losing all these star players. And so there's definitely room to be concerned. But I like that. Little positivity. I definitely could see us doing better than last season. But as Josh said, it's going to be really hard to beat that first half of the season that pushed us forward towards the end.
Carson doesn't know the real salty Josh yet, does he?
No.
This is positive me.
Josh, as long as you are you, as long as you are you, it's okay.
I won't change, man. I won't change.
Yeah, never change.
So this one, kind of goes along with what Fran just said, but this is Carl Walker, and he says RSL fans will continue to think RSL should be a top 3 team in the West and complain the moment Real Salt Lake has any form dip. Let's be honest, finishing 3rd through 6th in the table is a successful season in terms of investment versus output. We consistently perform above our weight. RSL fans will feel that they're always 1 to 2 players away from a championship team. RSL will spend money in the summer window on a striker that ends up being another Ortuño situation.
Yes. Another Sam Johnson.
Oh, no.
Hey, Sam Johnson.
Hey, you know what? Shout out Carl Walker, because you're pretty spot on, man.
No, that's absolutely true. That's like our entire roadmap of the season for the show. Doom and gloom, hype, cautious hype, doom and gloom, WTF just happened every season. That's exactly how it goes. It's exactly how it goes for the last 10 years. That's exactly what it's been.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And look, even I am guilty of this. Like, I always obviously have high expectations for us, and I want them to be a top 3 team in the West. But maybe we need to temper down our expectations a little bit this season.
He is right, though, in the fact that RSL has consistently, even through horrible ownership, horrible rosters, consistently been a competitor in the Western Conference and in the league.
Yeah.
And when you look at the market size, right, we always complain about small markets. We're doing really well for a small market team. So, in a lot of ways, we were never built to be the Manchester City of MLS. We were never built to be, the Barcelonas. But what we were built to be is the Leicester City. That team that has the 1 year that they just have been building and building and building towards and come out swinging. An opportunity breaks their way. A couple more calls go their way. A couple more shootouts go their way. And we're right there. And we have our moment of glory. And then we're back to just being a threatening team for another 15 years, 20 years. So that's how I see RSL.
I mean, this is a Real Salt Lake team who beat David Beckham to an MLS Cup.
Yeah. This is an RSL team who lost 3 other finals, in their heyday. Right? So we did our thing. We got our one moment.
We punched above our weight that one time. And now who knows when.
The craziest part, if you really think about it, out of the 4 finals RSL's been a part of, 2007 against the LA Galaxy was genuinely our least deserving, right? When you really look at the way the season went, right? Snuck into the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Playing in the Eastern Conference, playoffs, winning in shootouts every game. It was a genuine miracle. And that's kind of what I'm, hearkening to when I talk about we're going to need, the best squad we can have plus those lucky breaks like we got in 2009. I think I said 2007 before. Apologies. So, I mean, obviously that team deserved to win. They fought their hearts out, but it wasn't a team that dominated all year. And like in 2013, you fully expected RSL to be there at MLS Cup because that team was the team, right? They deserved to be there. Completely different situation than 2009, in my opinion.
Well, and even in 2013, the Galaxy were running the Western Conference.
Oh yeah, we weren't number 1.
No,
but we were a heavyweight.
I would even argue that 2013 year, Dallas was more of a favorite than Real Salt Lake was.
For sure, but we weren't looked at when the season started as, they might make the playoffs.
Right.
Right.
Moving on to Ivan Hernandez, who says RSL is incapable of winning an MLS Cup for being good. Small market equals no trophies. I'm not even going to respond to that one, Ivan.
We kind of just talked about it the last two questions and kind of related both.
Well, that one's just mean.
We already got silverware. You can't say no trophies. We're not the Jazz. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You hear that, Ryan Smith?
Yeah.
Braden Ashby says one of our super draft picks will become a starter by the end of the season. Yes, because that's just the RSL Lake way.
It's the RSL way. And I'm pretty sure I coached Braden, and that scares me and makes me very uncomfortable because I believe he's like married with children now. And I'm feeling really old. So shout out Braden if that is indeed you. Yeah. He's stuck on me being old right now.
Yeah, Josh is just literally could be my uncle. It's really weird to think about. I'm trying to think of names who could potentially. I don't know. There's just like I feel like we drafted so many guys. It's just hard to pick one out. But I'm really high on that the Max goalkeeper we drafted. I could see him.
Him and Barrea will probably be the two that I'm looking at the most this year.
I could also see a Monarch player making a bigger jump than a draft pick this year.
One of our
homegrowns. Yep.
Yeah, one of the younger kind of guys that are playing for the Monarchs.
You know what?
Yeah.
Who are signed to RSL contracts, but will be a Monarch player for the season.
Right. Like
Kevin Bonilla. Kevin Bonilla is staying around, by the way. He is signing. He is signing to the Monarchs. He will still be around.
Is this breaking news?
This is breaking news. You know, I couldn't hold it in. Everyone thinks he's gone, but no, Kevin Bonilla will be with the Monarchs.
That's great news.
That is great news. That is great news. And it makes sense. You know, sign him to a Monarchs contract. You don't technically have to hold on to him on an RSL contract.
Yeah.
But you can, have him around.
Yeah.
And you can still utilize him if the opportunity arises.
Yep.
I think it's respectful as well because he never really got his chance when we drafted him. He tore his ACL, and then kind of keep him around and see if he can develop good and turn out as a good player is actually really respectful by the organization after that injury.
Let's talk about Walter, who says, hot take. Without a true DP number 9, we're not going to be as competitive as some people believe. We're shopping Luna, and he will be gone by the summer. Yeah.
But who's to say one of these strikers don't come out of nowhere, pull a Daryl DK?
Well, and that's the biggest hope, right?
Oh, that would be so awesome.
That's the biggest hope when it comes to Elias Manuel and Forrester Job, and honestly, Arath Piol too.
Yeah, any of those three. And there is no solid starter right now. So, like the goalkeeper room, any of these guys could make that jump, right? It probably won't happen, let's be real, but it could. And maybe we don't need to sign a DP striker because we have a guy going off. That's the dream scenario for RSL. Is it a big gamble? Absolutely. But if it doesn't work out, we bring a guy in the summer.
That's a huge gamble.
Right, but if it doesn't work out, summer transfer window is right there.
I wouldn't mind if like 2 or 3 of those strikers we get combine for like 30 goals. Like, 10 of them, like they all have 10 goals combined with 30 goals.
That would be huge for a striker room. If any of those guys score 10 goals, just 10, one of those guys scores 10 goals, he's a solid option. He might not be the starter, but at least he's a solid option. And 10 goals from our striker is pretty average productivity pre-Chicho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If not above average, let's be honest. So we don't need a lot from the striker with the supporting cast, but if they can score 10 minimum goals, that's a success. And we're probably, pretty decently placed in the table with that kind of production. Depending on, Luna, Marksuk, Goncalves, those guys.
I think, and this is just coming from purely me wanting it to happen, but I think Arath Piol is going to have a Gomez trajectory where he's going to come in. He's going to come in. He's the same age of when Gomez came in. And at first he's not going to hit the ground running, right? It's going to take a second for him to adjust. It's going to take a second for him to learn, to grow, and to mature in Major League Soccer. But once he figures it out, I think that this kid can potentially have a Gomez-like trajectory.
That's all we can hope for. But that's clearly the club's aim. So we have to put our trust in the front office that they're identifying these kids that are going to have that trajectory. Right. Obviously, they're all not going to hit. But right now, with their track record, they're going to hit at some point.
At some point,
you know what I mean?
Happen, yes. Schaefer says the front office only cares about money, and that's why we'll never be a consistently competitive team.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe not so much of a hot take.
I mean, let's look at our sister kind of club. Oh, Mitch is going to hate me for saying this. We'll use Ajax right now as an example.
Okay.
That team is known for producing talent and selling.
Yes.
But that team is also known for winning. It is possible to do both. And I know we have fairly rich owners, but RSL's never going to be the club that big names come to. That's the small market. That's all of the things we've talked about ad nauseum in the past over the last many years. But if RSL can bring in young talent, flip them, right, because they're performing and consistently do it, we'll be a competitive team.
Yep.
100% every single year. If we're a youth machine, we'll be absolutely fine. Now, sure, we may never win MLS Cup again, but we had Chicho, right? We've brought in names. It's happened, and it could happen again. But you're never going to get Messi. You're never going to get Bale. You're never going to get Kane. So you have to rely on these young guys that turn into those big-time players, at least for the next few years. But then what happens when you're selling players? You're making that money, and eventually you can splash that cash.
Yep.
That's the only way we're going to get there.
Well, and that right there is the Ajax model. That right. Is exactly why they have been successful, is because a long time ago they decided, hey, we're going to invest in a bunch of young Dutch guys, and we're going to develop them, and we're going to make them some of the best players in the world, and we're going to sell them off. And with that money, with that eventual profit that we make from these guys, we're going to use it to bring in some good talent. And that is why Ajax has been incredibly dominant in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So, I mean, it might be a painful few years. It'll be a fun few years.
Now, right? Now we're starting to get into the Jazz conversation where you're investing in the rookies in the hopes that eventually some of them will come good. And once they come good, that's when you start competing for the champions.
I think it's entirely different with soccer, though.
It is because with soccer,
we're not relying on that number one draft pick for the NBA draft.
Yes.
But you have full control of that young talent you're bringing in. 100%. There's no, oh, we got to get the number one pick, or, this entire choke job for the last however many years has all been a waste. Right. You can go identify those kids in wherever, any country in the world, and bring them over and change their lives, and then they can change the club's history.
Boom.
It's entirely different for me.
I have no problem being a club that brings in youth talent and develops them for profit. I really like that strategy, and I honestly, you can have your 2 to 3 pieces of veterans around, but I really like bringing in these guys like Diego Luna, Andres Gomez, watching them develop into stars right in front of our eyes, and then selling them off to Europe teams so they can continue their career. I really like that, especially because, look, we're in the MLS, okay? We are in the MLS. We are not a top league. We got to make use of what this league is right now. And I think Real Salt Lake is doing perfectly. Obviously there's like LAFC and Inter Miami who bring in all these stars. But I don't mind being that low-key club that brings in these good youth talents and showcase what they have, and then selling them off to the big guys over in Europe.
If you're a big guy in Europe and you look your eyes, you take your eyes, you open your files for your MLS teams, what teams are you going to take more seriously? The teams that remain competitive while developing youth, or the teams that are winning championships while spending boatloads of cash?
Definitely the youth, because that now you can look at them
and know you're going to get a good player.
Yeah.
There you go. You can look at them to find your Andres Gomez and take him overseas.
And look, I feel like you hear in those type of conversations, you hear people mention Ajax all the time. They've been competitive for years while developing youth. Who else is Barcelona?
Feyenoord.
Feyenoord. They like Barcelona used to never really splash cash like that. They always used to just develop through their academy, and they even right now, Lamine Yamal, 17 years old, probably the best right winger in the world right now, came from Barcelona. Like I think that's super awesome, and we can keep going. Feyenoord. Who else, Josh? Come on, drop some more names.
There's so many.
Dortmund.
I'd say I'd throw Brighton right in there.
Yeah.
Well, who? Brighton?
Chelsea.
Brighton.
Yeah. Brighton's one of them right now.
Yep. Real Madrid does it to an extent. Like they're still the Galacticos, but I feel like they always have one guy that's coming up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, but their model has always been to bring in
splash
the
cash.
superstars.
Yeah.
I know, but they still utilize.
They still have a good academy. They just don't utilize their academy players as much as like Barcelona does. Like they usually sell off their academy players.
Their academy players, they usually sell off the academy players before they even have a chance.
And then they bring them back. They're like, oh wait, you're actually good.
Look at all
back.
How many times did Morata come back to Real Madrid? Well, the point is, though, it's not a bad model to have, and I want fans to understand that
and embrace it in a lot of ways.
And embrace it. Absolutely. Losing Gomez sucked. Don't get me wrong. And I think potentially if Gomez would have stayed, Real Salt probably would have had a real chance at winning something this past season. Do not get me wrong. But it's setting yourself up for a few years down the line. You have the ability to splash cash to bring in the best.
Right.
You're building your war chest for what's coming down the road. And if we have to wait a little bit for that cup to come because we're investing in the youth right now, that's perfectly fine with me.
As long as we're being entertained and watching the youth grow,
yes,
I'm pretty happy.
As long as the development is happening.
Yep.
If we get to a point where else isn't developing that talent, and that's been the argument for how long, Josh? How long have we complained about Real Salt not developing the talent?
Or losing it before we could sign it, right? You look back at Ledesma, you look back at Soto, you look back at Taylor Booth, both Booth brothers, right?
Right.
And I know mechanisms in the league made it a lot harder for those signings to happen. But now that we do have the Monarchs and we have the academy solidified and those mechanisms are there to keep these players around, we're going to start seeing those players stick around and we're going to see them grow starting at RSL before they get over to Europe, right? It's just going to be awesome. And as long as we're entertained and we're competitive, we're still going to get angry, right? We're still going to be roasting things when they happen depending on the situation, but I will be, at the end of the day, I'll be satisfied if we can become known as the club kids come to grow and become stars through. I think that's cooler than LAFC winning a cup with Bale for half a season, right? That's not a lot to remember. Oh, cool, Gareth Bale was here for 6 months, but I can go back and remember, if we ever see Gomez, sign for Barcelona or a huge club or Luna, we can be like, dang, we were there from the start, right?
There you go. Yep, exactly.
And that's just the coolest thing to me.
I feel like a lot of people expect us just to be spending money a lot. And I just want people to know what my side is I'm all about developing youth and selling them off. That's just my philosophy.
Yeah. You sign the 4 or 5 veterans right now. That's your Glad, your Vera, your Ojeda, and your Palacio, I guess now. Or Catranis. We'll put Catranis in that spot. Oh yeah, he's back. That's going to be an interesting conundrum.
And we'll get to that down the road.
Yeah. Once we can see some game time.
Yeah.
But, you have that core of veterans, and then every other player around them should be a young, up-and-coming something.
Like, I'm really huge that Xavier Gozo should be getting at least some more minutes this year than he did last year.
I was screaming for Gozo minutes last year, man. Screaming for him.
You know what? Going back a little bit, and I know we've kind of diverted off the Instagram talk, but going back to the tweet from Caleb Turner, who was talking about the signings, then the wish list that Real Salt had, Winger was on that list. And, the latest update is that they're still working on that winger. but I don't think you need to bring one in. I think instead of you, obviously you have Diego Luna, who's going to be fantastic. You're going to have Mark Zook. You're going to have Lachlan Brook. You're going to have, oh man, who else? Tyler Wolf, who is could be a good depth piece. But from there, give Goso those minutes.
Yeah.
Let him grow. Let him grow in some game time.
It'll be interesting. We'll kind of once this winger, this mystery winger who may or may not come to RSL.
Yeah.
Once we see who it is, the caliber of player and the age, I think that'll give us a lot of cues as to where the club thinks these other guys are in development or impact.
That is 100% true.
Right? If we bring in a 16, 17-year-old, obviously that's building for the future and they're going to be playing behind some of these guys. But if we bring in a guy that's 30 and been playing a lot, kind of a Matt Crooks type situation that you can fully expect to start, then that's going to signal that, the wingers may be a little behind schedule in their development. So time will tell on that one.
Chris Nagel, longtime listener, first time calling in, I think. Shout out, Chris. RSL Oz L will make the playoffs and crash out early, but will continue to cash in and be a selling club. Yes, just what we were talking about. And nice wordplay there on the R Oz L. Oz.
Two Aussies. That's wild.
Yeah.
We go from 1 to 2.
Nice wordplay.
Never before Adam. If one of them can end up like a Tim Cahill, jazzed.
Oh, yeah.
Also, just before we get to the next question and before, we don't talk about it, Dan Farnes.
Oh, no.
The fans, the show, the field, the players, the staff, everyone's going to miss you, man.
Yeah.
The head of the groundskeeping crew for many years now, he's kept that field looking pristine, even through the toughest of conditions and asks. A genuine sweetheart of a man, a teddy bear, a friend. Cheers to you, Dan. We're going to miss you there at RSL.
It's going to bring tears to my eyes.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yes, absolute friend of the show, Dan. I think every Rouse Lake fan can thank you for everything that you've done for America First Field, for Rio Tinto, and that pitch. It's always pristine, and I hope that the legacy can continue now that you're gone. And we good wish you luck on your future endeavors, man.
Absolutely.
Any guy or person that has had to mow their own lawn appreciates Dan a lot. Especially my father. Takes inspiration from Dan.
You were probably 10 when this episode came out, but we did an interview with Dan in the early days of the RSL Show. It was the early days. It was definitely pre-COVID.
How long were the early days?
It was probably 2017. This maybe not the early days, but it's 10. Been a while. And to this day, that's one of our favorite interviews and fan favorite interviews we've ever done. The technology and the science that goes behind that field, it's incredible. Dan was incredible. So yeah.
Dan's the GOAT.
He is the GOAT.
The GOAT of fields.
I wouldn't want to follow in his footsteps. I'll just say that.
Those are big shoes to fill, man.
Absolutely.
That's like do we know who's replacing him?
I haven't asked. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Because that
cool
field
dude.
looks bad.
I bet he's a cool dude.
I hope so. But if the field doesn't look good, calling you out.
Will Elgren says Salah's overall career is better than Neymar's.
We're getting off track here now.
But I mean,
he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. No, he is not wrong. And we won't talk too much about it, but I mean,
did Neymar ever win a Champions League?
Yes. He did. Yeah, he did it with Barca.
Okay. With Barca, that's right.
Yeah, he did it with Barca.
Either way, I respect the player so much for sticking at a club.
Yeah.
For a long time and becoming a club legend. That's one thing Salah definitely has over Neymar. Yeah, I think I would agree.
I think Salah's moved clubs more than Neymar.
Yeah, but
that was
in a different way.
that was in
Different
the
way.
early days when nobody really wanted to stick it out with Salah.
Mm-hmm.
He had to
He had to
grow.
prove
Salah
his
had to work. He had to work.
Oh yeah.
I just think Neymar, we all know how good Neymar was. I think him going to PSG is just always going to put a stain on his legacy. Like, just
I would
Anyone
say
going to
that.
PSG.
I would just say it's the injuries, man.
Also that.
It's that, but I think just you think about that PSG move and what they could have been at Barcelona if he didn't go to PSG. I mean, he even had Mbappe at PSG, and they still couldn't win the Champions League.
PSG is like a death trap of a club. They have all the money in the world, all the talent in the world, never getting over that hump. And I feel like it's almost career suicide, right? Outside, even Messi to a point there, right?
Messi didn't do anything either, yeah.
Right.
Which, by the way, if you look at their roster now, they're focusing
youth
movement.
Yes.
They realize paying bajillions of dollars for stars that don't get along and don't mesh. I mean, you see this with clubs all over the EPL too.
Yeah.
All over Spain, all over Germany, right? You have to find the right mix of guys that get along to win.
The thing is, PSG doesn't have a bad academy too. They've had plenty of guys come out of there.
And they're finally focusing on the young talent instead of bringing in Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe to play your front line and watch it fail.
Yep.
Luke Rogers says RSL doesn't make the playoffs and Pablo Mastroeni gets sacked. I feel like that's a little that is hold up. Let's entertain this idea real quick. And I know we're way
how bad would we have to be for Pablo to get let go?
Yes.
Not just missing the playoffs, but how bad would we have to be?
Oh, you'd have to be wooden spoon winner.
I think if your home record is worse than your like away record and we're just doing terrible.
Like what's terrible though? Like getting blown out every game or winning every other game or sitting right below the playoff bubble all season. Like there's a lot of ways to look at this.
If RSL is leading the wooden spoon race by summer, then that is a question. That is a discussion to be had. But honestly, I think if Ross Lake finishes 10th, I don't think Pablo gets sacked.
Yeah, I think his job, especially with his ask right now of developing youth, is fairly safe.
Yeah.
Do I agree? Maybe not, but I think it's fairly safe.
And yes, whether we agree can be a different conversation. But I do think that if Real Lake is anything but fighting for the wooden spoon, Pablo is in. Pablo is in.
Here, Alex, I have a question I want to entertain.
Oh,
from Twitter. It's from Adam Sussman. He said, "What constitutes a good season for Dominik Markchuk? I want to see him get firmly in the national team picture for Poland."
I'll let Josh take first swing at this one.
He's got to get the minutes. He's got to earn the minutes. I think he will. I think he's a bright player. If he locks down those minutes, I think a successful season, you got to use the Gomez stats. Mm-hmm. I need to see close to 10 goals. I need to see close to 10 assists. And that's a successful season for a U22 initiative player who has a very high ceiling. I kind of expect him to surpass it. I really do.
Right. I'm going to temper down the expectation just a little bit lower, and I'm just going to say 15 goal plus assist contributions.
Yeah.
Josh is saying 10 and 10. I'm going to go a little bit lower. I'm going to say 15 just across the board, goal and assist contributions.
I think 15 would be absolutely incredible.
That would be perfect for Marks.
I wouldn't even be mad at that, but I have fairly high expectations for him.
He has an incredibly high ceiling, and that is probably the guy that I'm most excited to see this year.
Yeah. I would say, for me, double-digit goal and assist contributions is a successful season for me, because it's going to be his first full season.
Yeah.
And, we don't know where he's going to be until we see him play. But I want to see double digit goal assist contribution.
And this is a conversation we've had in the past before, Josh. He's already, as far as where he is, as far as his development goes, he's already surpassed Gomez where he was 6 years into Gomez's, time with Real Salt Lake.
6 years? That was a flash, bro.
Did I say years? I meant months. I meant months. You know what I meant.
But I agree. I think he's ahead of where Gomez was at this point in time in their respective careers at RSL.
Yeah.
I think he's far ahead of Fidel Barajas.
Oh, miles ahead of Fidel.
But I think he's also already been here longer than Fidel was.
Doesn't even feel like Fidel was even here.
He never really was, right?
He was a blur.
But yeah,
thank you for the money, Chivas.
Exactly. But that's exactly the model, right?
Yep.
So I think the biggest question mark winger-wise should be put on Lachlan Brook, because we really don't know what we're going to get out of him. We saw some bright spots, but just some, right? We didn't see a lot of him, which was kind of concerning in the run-in. So that's the one I have circled on my curious to see how this season goes for roster.
Yep.
Here, let's I kind of want to entertain this question, another one. Who plays the 9 and why is Diego Luna as the false 9 the best choice? I want to say false 9, probably more like the attacking midfielder.
Yeah, more where Goncalves is playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Diego. I'd probably say Gonçalves.
Yeah.
If I highly doubt Real Salt Lake will constitute a false. Actually, I think I just talked myself into it. I think Real Salt Lake
false 9 could work behind Peel.
Yeah, I think Real Salt Lake could potentially utilize it this season, considering what the striker situation looks like.
And I think either are good options, depending on how wing play is going and how Goncalves, develops over this preseason with this squad.
Yeah.
But I could honestly see both of them kind of rotating in and out during the match.
With a Pablo Ruiz sitting underneath.
Next to who, though?
We have so many options.
Who are you leaving out? We really do have a lot of options at the 10, which is not a common problem for RSL, so it's actually a nice problem to finally have.
We have competition, which is never a bad thing.
No, never a bad thing. Yeah, look, you either throw Diego Luna in that or Diogo in that false 9 role. Whoever's not there, you throw him on the wing.
Yeah.
So, for this, we'll say Diogo at the 9. You throw Diego on the wing, you get Ruiz underneath, and then you have Mark Suk on the wing with Diogo playing that false 9 role. Hey.
But not only, I guarantee every single match, Diogo and Luna switch back and forth.
Yeah.
100%.
Constantly. So I think they're both going to be playing it, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Crooks and Luna did as well. And even Crooks and Gomez.
Yep. But I think it'll be more successful with the Diogo than it was with the Crooks, because Crooks was not meant to be playing there. He just was a skilled player that made it work temporarily, right? So there's some possibility there for a very lethal attack.
You know what I'm surprised about is not a lot of people are talking about Diogo. I feel like Goncalves, they're not talking about him that much.
I think it's because he really didn't do anything at the end of last year to make people remember him.
Yeah.
He still is a new guy that people are overlooking because they're forgetting he's here.
I would agree with that. I would 100% agree with that.
It does not feel like a DP. I hope he earns that DP title. He has all the ability in the world to do it. I just think he did not settle in with the team coming in at midseason very well.
Yeah. I think just one more real quick. Jet from X said Kobe Henry becomes a third center back option. Tyler Wolff becomes our best offensive player off the bench. And at least one of Palacio, Eneli, or Ojeda is sold this summer.
Yes, yes,
Yes, and yes. I could also
Yeah.
see Kobe Henry.
I could see all of those. Yeah.
I could see Kobe Henry being top 2 choice and someone else sliding to that 3rd choice.
Which I would love that.
Look, I think in the summer, it's something that Real Slick is going to have to evaluate, especially if Ruiz comes back and plays the way he used to play. If Ruiz is behind a step or two, maybe that's a conversation for next season. But if Ruiz is anywhere near where he was prior to the injuries, and that's a big ask. Let's not forget, that is a big ask. But if he is anywhere near that, that is a conversation that Rouse Lake's going to have because that is a really crowded midfield, and someone's going to be upset that they're not getting minutes.
How do you justifiably tell Eneli and Ojeda that Ruiz is starting over him, though? How well does he have to perform to even get close to that conversation?
I think it's how bad those two are performing to have Ruiz take their minutes.
I think so too. I think Ruiz becomes the Palacio coming off the bench, and I think this is if Ruiz, gets back to Ruiz of old, who's also running on 2 bad knees. So do you really gamble on selling anybody? Because there's a very good opportunity. A, Ruiz is never the same. B, Ruiz re-injures himself. Those two I feel like are more likely than him being close to an all-star caliber player.
Well, if we get to the point where Ruiz just is not himself, then that's a conversation you have to have if we need to move on from Ruiz.
Exactly.
And Ruiz is the piece that moves on.
Exactly. And I think logically, if we're not, thinking with our hearts and who's been here the longest, logically, right now it makes more sense to move on from Ruiz, period. He does have a wicked left foot, right? Yeah. But to me, the other 3 guys bring so much more.
To me, I think Pablo Ruiz is going to play that more advanced role, whether that's rotating in for Diogo, coming off the bench, or, whatever. I think Real Slick is going to utilize him more in that advanced 10 role to start off the season.
I'd be far more comfortable with that. Because right now, disrupting those, disrupting that right now makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. And so I think Real Slick is going to utilize him more in an advanced role to start the season. And then obviously once we get down the line, a couple games into the year, that conversation might change. But obviously right now, I think the biggest focus is just getting him to be match fit, back to 100% fit. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of where Ruiz lands after he is 100% and ready to go.
And I honestly think he's better in that advanced role than he is in a deep role. So if he can come back and be a solid number 2 in that attack, or a number 1 if Diogo doesn't pan, then that's just a win all around.
Yeah. I think right now Real Slick is comfortable where they are in that midfield. I don't think any of them move on this window, but this might be a conversation we'll revisit as we get closer to the summer window. Depending on what happens
with how much Ojeda has grown, right? I know he's an older player, but Ojeda is an absolute killer right now.
Europe, man.
I could absolutely see a championship side or a lower table EPL side or a Dutch side come calling.
With the way that Ojeda finished the year and played last season, he's easily a starter in the championship.
Yeah, Nottingham Forest is probably, I know they're on a tear right now and doing very well, but a team like old Nottingham Forest could really use him, right? Yeah. And that's just talking about Ojeda.
Yeah.
You can honestly be concerned that Eneli is now being highly scouted. You can't argue that.
This is going to be, yes, 100%. And this is
very, very interesting.
It's going to be a fun conversation to have again as we get closer to that summer window, because I think right now the club is holding on to see how Ruiz is going to be coming back and then make that decision.
Yeah. I'm just saying this team has guys that are very valuable, in
that midfield, man.
Just like we were talking about earlier, you got to develop, you got to move on at some point. can't hold on to guys forever like we used to. The league's different, the game's different. We can't just have lifers here at RSL anymore. So this is kind of a reality that we're going to be seeing a lot of. Is we're going to get guys in, we're going to watch them grow, we're going to fall in love, and then they're going to break our hearts, and we just have to accept it. But it's a good problem to have. We're not talking about Noel Caliscan starting game 1, right?
Why? I'm just kidding.
But I'm just saying, like, this conversation is entirely different if we're looking in the midfield going, wow, that's our best player in the midfield?
Yes.
Right?
But
so,
looking at that depth chart, though, Caliscan is probably 5th.
Absolutely.
No, I don't really have much to pitch in. I feel like we've pitched in a lot tonight, and I think this is our longest episode we've done as a group.
We are way over time, dude.
Since you've joined us, yeah, for sure. We've definitely had some long ones in the past, but that's usually after something severe happens, like the owner turns out to be a horrible person, or Becky says something horrible after a game.
Sounds fun.
So, yeah, you were too young for all that anyway, but
yeah.
Well, and the crazy part is, and look, sorry if we didn't get to your questions. We love and appreciate everybody who sends in everything.
We need to get back to doing that every episode because it's my favorite part.
Yes, that's what we know. We do this for you guys. We love interacting with you guys. We love listening to and hearing your guys' takes, and giving us the opportunity to react to them is one of my favorite things to do. And
I think it really creates more genuine conversation.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's incredible.
We're an hour and 30 minutes into a show.
Yep.
So we'll do it again. If we did not get to you, I apologize. We'll get to you next time. I promise. So keep sending those in. Anytime you see us post, anytime we ask for your hot takes, your takes, or anything, make sure to send those in. We love interacting with you guys, and we appreciate you guys sending those in. One last piece of news that I want to get to before we wrap this one up, and I forgot to mention it earlier. Rouse Lake is no longer participating in the Open Cup. It has been announced today that Real Salt Lake is one of the Major League Soccer teams that will have to send their affiliate side instead of the actual first team representing them in the U.S. Open Cup. Real Salt Lake is qualified for the Champions Cup. They are qualified for Leagues Cup, which we'll get into that format too once we hear more about it. But as of right now, there are only 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 Major League Soccer sides who will be participating in Leagues Cup compared to the entire league like it was the last 2 seasons. And of course, the Open Cup, you still get 12 Major League Soccer sides participating in that. However, Real Salt Lake, like I said, will not be a part of that. They will send Real Monarchs to the Open Cup.
Is it bad that I'm actually more excited to watch the Real Monarchs in the U.S. Open Cup than I would be to watch RSL? Is that weird?
Yeah, I'm excited.
No, it's not weird. Mostly because the teams last year that sent their affiliates to the Open Cup, they still had a mix of their affiliate players and some first team players.
Yep. And I think it's an incredible opportunity for those Monarchs players to play outside of MLS Next. And it's a better stage to really show what you can do, right? To get attention and potentially grow your career. So I'm more excited to watch these Monarchs players because, I can't stand watching them on the stream they have now with that camera angle.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's so hard to watch. So I don't watch as much as I should, but seeing them on a bigger stage, on TV, playing against teams that aren't LA2, right? It's just going to be a lot cooler.
Carson, you're a big Monarchs guy.
Yeah.
How does this shape up for you? How do you feel about the Monarchs being Rouse Lake's representative in the Open Cup this year?
All I can think in the back of my mind is imagine the Monarchs win a trophy this season and Real Salt Lake doesn't.
I was actually thinking about that too earlier. If the Monarchs were to go on and win the Open Cup, does that fall for does that count as a trophy for RSL, or does that count as a trophy for the Monarchs?
Well, did the USL count towards the Monarchs or the Real Salt Lake?
The Monarchs.
Yeah, so I think it would count towards Monarchs.
But it's just a big win for the RSL family.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go.
Because the Monarchs are de facto RSL. They're representing RSL in so many ways, right? They're their academy representatives. They're their homegrowns. They're their guys that are growing. So it represents the whole organization.
And once again, we're back to youth.
Hey, look at that. We've come full circle.
But here's the difference. Like RSL winning the Open Cup does not represent the Monarchs winning. So it's a little bit flipped there. And I think that's even cooler. So go Monarchs.
Monarchs are so sick, man. I wish people would appreciate them a little bit more.
You know, I'm also guilty, but I was all over them and able to watch them in a more enjoyable way when they were with the USL.
Yeah.
I think MLS Next has really, really hurt that aspect.
No, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to deep dive into that, that's exactly why Josh Jones left and went to Louisville, because Real Salt Lake wanted to give him a Monarchs contract, and he's like, nah, I want a first-team contract, and, Louisville gave him that.
Right, and that's great for him. And I don't blame him one bit, right? That feels like you're playing professional soccer, whereas, MLS Next is professional soccer. It doesn't have that feel whatsoever.
It's like it's a youth development league.
Exactly.
I feel like that's exactly what it is. It's not a professional league. It's a youth development league.
Right. You almost feel like you're still playing youth club soccer.
Yeah.
At a higher level at that point. So I absolutely get it for some of these guys that aren't willing to go through that.
Well, and I wonder how much that falls on the lack of marketing for Major League Soccer. They don't promote Next Pro at all.
At all.
No.
At all.
Unless you follow the social media account, you don't even know if they're playing.
Which is stupid, man. I don't like that.
I think Next Pro, the idea is really good, but it has a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, guys, anything else you want to add, say, throw out there, put out into the universe before we wrap this one up? And if you're still here listening, we appreciate you guys so much. But anything else you want to add?
No, I'm tired. Let's wrap this up.
I'm tired too, but if anyone's been listening this long, we appreciate you, and you are awesome. So thank you for listening.
And with that, we conclude this edition of the RSL Show on the KSL Sports Network. As always, thank you guys so much for listening, for tuning in, for subscribing, for following, for doing what you have to do to follow the RSL Show on the KSL Sports Network for the best RSL content. We'll talk to you guys next week as we continue to deep dive into this preseason.